I'm hunched over my desk, eyes glued to the screen as I hammer out the last few sentences of a report due tonight. My phone buzzes next to me. Sarah again, reminding me that I won't make it to her parents' house in time for Thanksgiving dinner. She's been on my case about it all week, telling me not to worry, to just finish my work. "You'll be late anyway," she says, her tone oddly insistent. It's strange the way she keeps saying it, but I brush it off. She's always been a bit of a nag when it comes to family events. I close my laptop, finally done. I glance at the time and realize I've got more than enough to make the drive. Sarah's probably already there, helping her mom set the table, sipping on wine and chatting with her dad. It's been a while since I've seen them all together. Work's been keeping me late, and Sarah's been going over there more often without me. "Family obligations," she says. Lately, I've felt this distance growing between us. It's subtle, like something just out of sight in the corner of your eye. We've been married for 5 years, and the spark we once had seems to be fizzling. Our conversations are shorter, the touch is less frequent, and the sex, well, that's become almost non-existent. I tell myself it's the stress of work, the long hours I put in, but deep down, I can't shake the feeling that something's off. As I grab my coat and head out, I think back to how things used to be. We were passionate once, couldn't keep our hands off each other. Now it feels like we're just going through the motions. Sarah's been distant, distracted even. I've caught her staring off into space more than once, her mind clearly somewhere else. I've tried to talk to her about it, but she brushes it off, says she's just tired, stressed. And maybe she is. Or maybe it's something else. The drive to her parents' place is quicker than I expected. The roads are empty, everyone already at their destinations, settling in for the holiday. I turn onto their street, and that familiar sense of dread creeps up my spine. I love Sarah's family, but there's always been this undercurrent of tension when we're all together. Her mom can be a bit overbearing, her dad too quick to offer advice I didn't ask for. Still, I grin and bear it for Sarah. I park outside and take a deep breath. I'm about to walk in when I decide to text her, let her know I'm on my way. But then I stop myself. Why ruin the surprise? I'll walk in, and she'll see I made it in time, despite her doubts. Maybe it'll make her happy. Maybe it'll remind her of the man she fell in love with. I step up to the door, anticipation building, unaware that what's inside will shatter the world I thought I knew. The door creaks open as I step inside, greeted by the smell of roast turkey and the sound of laughter. I slip off my shoes and close the door softly, the warmth of the house wrapping around me. From the living room, I hear Sarah's voice, light and carefree, mingling with others. I smile to myself, thinking of how she'll react when she sees me, expecting to find her chatting with her parents, wine in hand, relaxed and happy. But as I approach the living room, something stops me in my tracks. Her laugh. There's a lilt to it, something that sends a shiver down my spine. I step closer, moving silently, and peek around the corner. My breath catches in my throat. Sarah is there, but not in the way I imagined. She's perched on the lap of a man I've never seen before, his hands roaming boldly up her thigh, under her dress. My world narrows to that single point, my mind struggling to process what I'm seeing. She's smiling, her eyes half closed as his fingers inch higher. It's intimate, too intimate, and I'm frozen, rooted to the spot as my brain plays catch up with my eyes. I should move, should do something, but all I can do is stare. Time slows, the sound of their soft whispers filling my ears like a sickening melody. Her hand rests on his chest, fingers splayed, and I watch as she leans in closer, her lips grazing his ear. I feel a surge of rage, hot and blistering, rising up from my gut. How long has this been going on? How could she? My hands clench into fists, and I imagine storming into the room, ripping them apart. But something stops me. Instead, I force myself to remain still, to watch. I need to understand what's happening before I act. "Do you think he'll make it?" the man whispers, his voice low, his hand still exploring under her dress. "No," she murmurs, barely audible. "He'll be stuck at work. I made sure of it." She knew. She planned this. My thoughts spiral, a mix of disbelief and fury. My wife, the woman I've trusted with everything, has orchestrated this moment, ensuring I wouldn't be here. Except I am here, and now I'm the one with the upper hand. They don't know I'm watching. They think they're safe, cocooned in their little bubble of infidelity. The thought of it makes me sick, but I swallow it down, forcing myself to remain calm. If I burst in now, it'll be chaos. I need to be smart. I back away slowly, retracing my steps down the hall, careful not to make a sound. Once I'm out of sight, I turn and practically run to the front door. My heart pounds as I step outside, the cool air hitting my face like a slap. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself, trying to think. I need to act, but how? What do I do now? My mind races as I get into the car, slamming the door shut behind me. I sit there, gripping the steering wheel, staring at nothing. Part of me wants to go back inside, to confront them, to scream, to tear them apart. But another part, the part that's winning right now, tells me to wait. I need a plan. Rushing in there, fists flying, won't do anything but make me look like a fool. I need to figure out who this man is, how long this has been going on, and why. Who the hell is he? I rack my brain trying to place him, but there's nothing. He's a complete stranger. Sarah's been spending more time with her parents lately, using family obligations as an excuse. Was that just a cover for this? For him? My stomach churns at the thought, but I push it aside. I can't afford to get emotional. Not yet. I drive away, my mind already working overtime. I need to know more, and I need to stay one step ahead of them. Sarah thinks she's in control, thinks she's got everything under wraps, but she has no idea that the game has just changed. I will not be the victim here. I'll find out who this bastard is, and then I'll make them both pay. The drive is a blur, my thoughts a whirlwind of anger and betrayal. By the time I pull into my driveway, I've already made up my mind. I'll play it cool, pretend I never saw anything. I'll go home, text Sarah like everything's fine, and let her believe she's pulled it off. Meanwhile, I'll start digging. I'll find out who this man is, what his connection to Sarah is, and then I'll expose them. They won't see it coming. I pull out my phone and start typing a casual message to Sarah, forcing my fingers to stay steady. Hey, running late. Go ahead and start without me. Love you. My thumb hovers over the send button for a second, bile rising in my throat as I type the last two words. But I hit send anyway. I need to keep up appearances. Her reply comes almost instantly. No problem, babe. See you soon. Love you too. Love you too. The words feel like a knife to the gut, but I force myself to stay calm. She's lying through her teeth, but so am I now. The rules have changed, and I need to play along if I'm going to come out on top. I'm going to destroy them, both of them. But first, I need to know everything. Inside the house, I drop my keys on the counter and head straight for my computer. I start searching, using every trick I know to dig up information on this guy. He's a ghost. No social media. Nothing that links him to Sarah or her family. It's like he doesn't exist, which only makes me more determined. Nobody is that clean. He has to have slipped up somewhere. I open a browser window and log into the accounts I keep for work, the ones Sarah doesn't know about. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's finding people. It's part of my job, tracking down elusive clients, digging up information that others can't. This guy might think he's invisible, but he has no idea who he's dealing with. Hours pass as I search, my frustration mounting with each dead end. Finally, I come across something. A mention of him in a local forum linked to a business deal that fell through. His name is Brian Matthews. That's all I need. With a name, I can start pulling threads, unraveling the carefully woven web he's spun. I dive deeper, tracking his movements, his connections. It doesn't take long to piece together a rough outline. Brian Matthews is a smooth talker, a salesman, the kind of guy who can charm his way into anything, including, apparently, my wife's pants. The thought of it makes my blood boil, but I keep digging. I need more than just a name. I need proof. I find out that he's not just some random fling. He's been in and out of town for months, each visit coinciding with one of Sarah's supposed trips to her parents. The pieces start to fit together, forming a picture I wish I could unsee. She's been planning this, meeting him under my nose, all while pretending to be the perfect wife. My hands shake as I print out everything I've found, laying the papers out in front of me like a damning map of their betrayal. This is what she's been hiding. This is what she's been doing while I've been breaking my back, working late, trying to give her the life she's always wanted. And for what? For this. I stare at the evidence, the anger inside me solidifying into something cold and sharp. I know what I have to do. I won't just confront them. I'll destroy them, but first I'll make sure they know just how badly they've underestimated me. As I sit there planning my next move, my phone buzzes with another message from Sarah. Dinner was great. Can't wait to see you later. XOXO. So. The audacity of it nearly makes me laugh. She's so confident, so sure that she's gotten away with it. But she's wrong. I'm going to make her pay for every lie, every deceitful word. And Brian Matthews? He won't know what hit him. I stand up, feeling a sense of calm wash over me. The shock has worn off, replaced by a cold, calculated resolve. This isn't over, not by a long shot, and when I'm done, they'll both wish they'd never met. I spend the next few days pretending everything is normal, though inside I'm anything but calm. Every time Sarah looks at me, all I can see is her on that man's lap, her body melting into his touch. But I play my part well. I act like the oblivious husband, smiling when necessary, keeping the anger simmering just below the surface. I have to be careful, patient. If she suspects anything, it could ruin everything. The first thing I do is start digging into Brian Matthews' life. I use my contacts, the same ones I rely on for work, to pull every bit of information I can about him. It turns out he's a slick operator, charming, successful, and ruthless. He's been married before, divorced twice, and each time he walked away with more than his fair share. He's got a reputation for seducing women, especially married ones. He picks them carefully, goes after those with something to lose, and when he's done, he moves on, leaving chaos in his wake. It's clear that Sarah is just his latest conquest. I start gathering evidence, piecing together a timeline of their affair. I find out they've been meeting in hotels, mostly in the afternoons when I'm at work. The thought of them together, laughing, touching, drives me insane, but I keep my cool. I print out their hotel receipts, photos from security cameras, anything that links them together. Every time I uncover something new, it feels like a stab to the heart, but I use the pain as fuel. I need to stay focused. At home, I observe Sarah closely. She's good at lying. Too good. She's cheerful, almost too cheerful, like nothing's wrong, like she's not carrying on a secret affair right under my nose. But I notice the little things now, the way she checks her phone more often, the quick glances she thinks I don't see. When she's with me, she's distant, her mind clearly elsewhere, probably with him. I let her believe she's in control, that I'm none the wiser. One evening, after another one of her family visits, I decide to confront her, but subtly. We're sitting in the living room, watching TV. She's curled up next to me, but it feels forced, like she's going through the motions. I turn to her, trying to keep my voice light. Hey, you've been spending a lot of time with your parents lately. Everything okay with them? She glances at me, her eyes widening just a fraction before she catches herself. Yeah, they're fine. You know how Mom is, always needing help with something. I nod, pretending to buy it. I was thinking I could come with you next time. It's been a while since I saw them. She stiffens slightly, then forces a smile. That would be nice, but you've been so busy with work. Maybe after the holidays? I smile back, though inside I'm seething. Sure, after the holidays. I know she's lying, but I let it slide for now. She's on edge, and I can't push too hard or she'll get suspicious. Instead, I continue my investigation, delving deeper into her life with Brian. I track their every move, making sure to cover my tracks so she doesn't find out what I'm up to. I'm meticulous, careful, ensuring that when the time comes, I'll have everything I need to blow this wide open. As I dig, I uncover more than I bargained for. It's not just Sarah and Brian. Her parents, her friends, almost everyone close to her knows about the affair. They've all been keeping it from me, playing along with her lies, smiling to my face while knowing the truth. The betrayal cuts deep, deeper than I ever imagined. These are people I trusted, people I thought cared about me, and they've been laughing behind my back. The realization fuels my anger, hardens my resolve. This isn't just about Sarah and Brian anymore. It's about everyone who betrayed me. They all need to pay. Finally, I reach a breaking point. I've gathered enough evidence to expose them, and I'm ready to make my move. But as I prepare to confront Sarah, something unexpected happens. Brian makes the first move. It's a Friday night, and I'm sitting at home alone. Sarah's out again, supposedly with her parents, but I know better. My phone rings and it's an unknown number. I hesitate, then answer. Hello? Is this Richard? The voice is smooth, confident. I know immediately who it is. Yes. Who's this? A pause, then, it's Brian Matthews. My heart skips a beat, but I keep my voice steady. What do you want? I think we need to talk. What about? About Sarah, about you. About what happens next. His tone is casual, almost bored, but there's an underlying threat there, one that sends a chill down my spine. I grip the phone tighter. I don't think we have anything to talk about. Oh, I think we do. You see, I know what you've been doing. Digging around, gathering dirt on me, on Sarah. It's impressive, really. But you should know, you're not the only one with connections. My mind races. How the hell does he know? I've been so careful, covering my tracks, making sure no one could trace anything back to me. What are you getting at? I'm saying you should back off. You're out of your depth here, Richard. This isn't a game you can win. Anger flares in me, hot and sharp. Is that a threat? It's advice. Walk away now and we can all avoid a lot of unpleasantness. I laugh, though there's no humor in it. Unpleasantness? You're screwing my wife and you think you can tell me to back off? Careful, Richard. You don't know who you're dealing with. And you don't know me, I snap. You think you can intimidate me, but you're wrong. I'm not walking away from this. Another pause, then a sigh. Have it your way. But don't say I didn't warn you. The line goes dead, and I'm left sitting there, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through me. I've underestimated him. He's more dangerous than I thought, and now he knows I'm onto them. The situation has just escalated, and I realize I'm not just up against a cheating wife. I'm up against a man who's willing to do whatever it takes to protect himself. The next few days are tense. Sarah acts like nothing's wrong, but I can't shake the feeling that she knows something. She's more cautious, less chatty, as if she's trying to gauge my mood. I play along, keeping up the facade, but inside I'm on high alert. Brian's words echo in my head, a constant reminder that this is far from over. Then one night, it all comes to a head. I come home late from work, exhausted and tense. The house is quiet, dark except for a single light in the living room. I walk in, expecting to find Sarah asleep, but instead I find her waiting for me, sitting on the couch with a glass of wine in her hand. She looks up as I enter, her expression unreadable. "You're late," she says, her voice calm, almost too calm. "Yeah, work ran over," I reply, shrugging off my coat. She watches me, her eyes narrowing slightly. "We need to talk." I freeze, my heart skipping a beat. About what? About us. About what's been going on. My mind races. Has she figured it out? Does she know I've been tracking her, gathering evidence? I force myself to stay calm, to play dumb. "What do you mean?" She sets the glass down and stands up, walking over to me. She stops just inches away, looking up at me with those eyes I used to love so much. Now they just remind me of her betrayal. "Richard, I know what you've been doing." I know you've been spying on me, following me. My blood runs cold. She knows. But how? I've been so careful, covering my tracks, making sure she couldn't find out. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, she snaps, her voice suddenly harsh. I've seen the signs. You're not as subtle as you think. I stare at her, my mind spinning. This isn't how I wanted it to go down, but now that it's out in the open, there's no point in pretending. So what if I have been? What are you going to do about it? She laughs, but there's no humor in it. You don't get it, do you? This isn't just about us anymore. Brian's involved now, and he's not going to let you ruin everything. Ruin everything? I repeat, incredulous. You're the one who ruined everything when you started screwing him behind my back. She flinches, but then her expression hardens. You were never there, Richard. Always working, always too busy. What did you expect me to do? Just sit around and wait for you to remember I exist? Don't put this on me, I growl. You made the choice to cheat. You decided to betray me. Maybe I did, she admits, her voice cold. But what's done is done. Now we need to figure out how to move forward. Move forward? I laugh bitterly. There's no moving forward from this, Sarah. This is the end. She shakes her head. It doesn't have to be. We can end this quietly without any more drama. Just a simple divorce. No one needs to know the details. And Brian, I ask, my voice tight. What happens to him? She looks away, avoiding my gaze. He's not part of this. This is between you and me. I shake my head, anger boiling over. No, Sarah. He made himself part of this the moment he touched you. He's not getting away with this, and neither are you. Her eyes widen in fear, and for a moment I see the Sarah I used to know, the one I fell in love with. But it's fleeting, and then she's back to being the cold, calculating woman who betrayed me. Richard, please, just let it go. We can both walk away from this with our dignity intact. Dignity? I spit the word like it's poison. You lost your dignity the moment you spread your legs for him. There's no walking away from this. She steps back, her face pale. What are you going to do? I smile, but there's no warmth in it. You'll find out soon enough. I turn and walk out of the room, leaving her standing there trembling. As I head up to bed, my mind is already racing with plans. This isn't over, not by a long shot, and when I'm done, Sarah and Brian will regret ever crossing me. The next morning I wake up early, my resolve solidified. I leave the house before Sarah wakes up, heading straight to the office. I spend the day making preparations, putting everything in place for what's to come. I've already gathered all the evidence I need, but now I need to make sure it's ready to be used. I contact a lawyer, someone I trust, and lay out the situation. He's shocked, but he agrees to help. We discuss the details, the steps we need to take to ensure that when the time comes, I'll have the upper hand. He assures me that with the evidence I have, the divorce will go in my favor. Sarah won't get a penny, and Brian will be left with nothing. But it's not just about the divorce. I want to ruin them, both of them. I want them to feel the same pain they've inflicted on me. I want them to lose everything, just like they've taken everything from me. And I know just how to do it. That night, I go home and act like everything is normal. I eat dinner with Sarah, make small talk, pretend that nothing has changed. But inside, I'm seething. Every word, every smile is a lie, a calculated move in the game we're playing. She has no idea what's coming. A few days later, I make my move. I leak the evidence I've gathered anonymously to the right people. It spreads like wildfire, the scandal of the year. Sarah and Brian's affair is exposed, their reputations ruined. It's all over the news, the gossip blogs, even social media. There's no escaping it. Sarah is devastated. She comes to me begging for forgiveness, but I'm done with her. I tell her to pack her things and get out. She's sobbing, pleading with me, but I'm cold, unfeeling. She made her bed, and now she has to lie in it. Brian, on the other hand, is furious. He tries to contact me, to threaten me, but I ignore him. He's nothing to me now, just a piece of trash that's been tossed aside. I've won, and he knows it. The divorce is swift and brutal. Sarah walks away with nothing, her reputation in tatters, her life destroyed. Brian disappears running from the fallout of the scandal. I watch it all unfold with a sense of satisfaction, knowing that I've taken everything from them. But as I sit in my empty house, the dust settling, I realize something. I've won, but at what cost? I've lost Sarah, the woman I once loved, and now all I have left is the hollow victory of revenge. The life we built together is gone, and I'm left with nothing but the ruins. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but I know I can't dwell on it. I have to move forward to rebuild my life from the ground up. It won't be easy, but I'm determined to do it. I've come this far, and I won't let this destroy me. As I look out the window, the sun setting on the horizon, I take a deep breath. The worst is over, and now it's time to start again. I walk into the house, and the air is thick with tension. Sarah is sitting at the kitchen table, her eyes red from crying, her hands wrapped around a half-empty glass of wine. She looks up when I enter, and I can see the fear in her eyes, the guilt she's been trying to hide for weeks now. She knows what's coming. I've been distant, cold, and she senses that I'm about to confront her. She's right. "Richard," she starts, her voice trembling. "We need to talk." I nod, taking a seat across from her. My mind is clear, my resolve unshakable. "Yeah, we do." She takes a deep breath, her hands shaking slightly as she sets the glass down. "I know you've been angry with me. I can feel it. And I think I know why." "Do you?" I keep my voice calm, measured. This is it, the moment of truth. I've been waiting for this, preparing for it. Her eyes well up with tears and she nods. "I've made a terrible mistake. I've been unfaithful to you, Richard. I've betrayed our marriage, and I'm so sorry." She's finally admitting it, but the words do nothing to ease the storm inside me. I lean back, crossing my arms, and wait. She's not done yet. "It was a mistake," she continues, her voice barely above a whisper. "Brian, he was just there when I was feeling so alone, and I made a terrible choice. But I regret it, Richard. I regret it so much. I want to fix this. I want us to fix this." I stare at her, letting her words hang in the air. She thinks this is about forgiveness, about us working through her betrayal. But she doesn't know what I know. She doesn't realize how deep this goes, how much she's destroyed. "It wasn't just a mistake, Sarah," I say, my voice steady. "It wasn't a one-time thing. You've been seeing him for months behind my back, lying to my face. And it's not just him, is it? Everyone around us knew. Your parents, your friends. They all knew, and they kept it from me. They let me play the fool." Her eyes widen in shock. She wasn't expecting this, wasn't prepared for the depth of my knowledge. "Richard, you think I didn't know?" I cut her off, my voice rising. "You think I'm stupid? That I didn't notice the signs, the lies? I've been watching you, Sarah. I've seen everything. The hotels, the secret meetings. I've got the receipts, the photos. You've been lying to me for months and you want to fix this? You think a simple apology is going to make it all better?" Tears stream down her face as she shakes her head. "No, I don't. I didn't know what to do, Richard. I was lost and I made a mistake. But I love you. I've always loved you." "Love." I spit the word like venom. "You don't know the meaning of the word. You betrayed me, Sarah. You destroyed everything we had. And for what? A cheap fling with some smooth-talking bastard who doesn't give a damn about you?" She flinches at my words, her tears falling harder. "It wasn't like that, Richard. I didn't mean to hurt you. I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did," I say, my voice cold. "You hurt me more than you'll ever know. And now, we're done. This marriage is over, Sarah. You've made sure of that." She collapses into sobs, her head in her hands. But I feel no pity, no sympathy. I've been through hell these past few weeks, watching my world fall apart, and now it's her turn to suffer. But I'm not done yet. There's still one more person who needs to pay. I stand up, my movements slow and deliberate. "I'm leaving, Sarah. I don't want to see you again. Get your things and get out of this house. It's over." She looks up at me, her face a mask of despair. Richard, please. Save your tears, I say, turning away. You brought this on yourself. I walk out of the room, leaving her there, broken and sobbing. As I head to the door, I pull out my phone and dial a number I never thought I'd have to use. It rings twice before it's answered. Mr. Matthews, I say, my voice calm, controlled. We need to talk. There's a pause on the other end, and then Brian's voice comes through, tense and wary. What do you want? Meet me at the warehouse on 5th and Main, midnight. Don't be late. I hang up before he can respond, slipping the phone back into my pocket. I know he'll show up. He's too arrogant not to. He thinks he's won, that he's in control, but he has no idea what's coming. This ends tonight. The warehouse is dark and empty when I arrive, the perfect place for what needs to be done. I park the car and wait, the silence around me only broken by the distant hum of the city. My heart pounds in my chest, but my mind is clear, focused. I've played the victim long enough. Now it's time to take control. Brian shows up a few minutes past midnight, just as I knew he would. He steps out of his car, looking around cautiously before spotting me. He walks over, his posture tense, his eyes narrowing as he approaches. What the hell is this about, Richard? He asks, his voice laced with irritation. I don't answer right away, instead taking a moment to study him. He's just as smug as I remember, that air of confidence that used to infuriate me now filling me with a cold determination. He thinks he's won, but he's about to learn just how wrong he is. You think you can just walk into my life and take everything from me? I finally say, my voice calm, but with an edge that makes him falter. He scoffs, trying to regain his composure. You need to let this go, Richard. Sarah made her choice. It's over between you two. You need to move on. Move on, I repeat, stepping closer, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. You think I'm just going to let you walk away after everything you've done? He glares at me, his confidence wavering. What are you going to do, Richard? Fight me? You're not that kind of man. I smile, but it's a cold, joyless thing. You're right. I'm not going to fight you, Brian. I'm going to destroy you. His eyes widen slightly, and I can see the doubt starting to creep in. He wasn't expecting this. He thought I'd roll over, let him take what he wanted without a fight, but he's underestimated me, and now he's going to pay for it. I've got everything I need, I continue, my voice steady. I've got evidence of your affair with Sarah, proof that you've been manipulating her, using her. It's all ready to go public, and when it does, your life is over. He pales, the bravado draining from his face. You're bluffing. Try me, I say, pulling out my phone. One press of a button, and your world falls apart. Your business, your reputation, it'll all be gone. You'll be a pariah, a laughingstock. He takes a step back, fear flickering in his eyes. You can't do this. I can and I will, I say, my voice low, threatening, unless you do exactly as I say. He's cornered, and he knows it. His shoulders slump, and he looks at me with a mixture of hatred and desperation. What do you want? I smile again, but this time there's a flicker of satisfaction in it. You're going to disappear, Brian. You're going to leave this city, this state, and never come back. You're going to walk away from Sarah, from everything, and you're never going to contact her again. If you do, if I even hear your name, I'll release everything, and your life will be over. Do you understand? He stares at me, his face pale, his eyes wide. He knows he has no choice. Fine, he finally says, his voice barely above a whisper. I'll leave. Good, I say, slipping my phone back into my pocket. You have 24 hours. After that, if I hear so much as a whisper about you, it's over. He doesn't respond, just turns and walks away, his shoulders hunched in defeat. I watch him go, a sense of satisfaction washing over me. It's done. He's out of my life and out of Sarah's for good. But as I stand there in the empty warehouse, the satisfaction fades, replaced by a hollow emptiness. I've won, but at what cost? My marriage is over, my trust shattered, and all I have left is this cold, bitter victory. I've destroyed the man who took everything from me, but in the process, I've destroyed a part of myself as well. I leave the warehouse, the weight of what I've done settling on my shoulders. As I drive, I sit in my car outside the house, staring at the dim light filtering through the living room curtains. My hands grip the steering wheel, knuckles white, but inside I feel an odd calm. The storm that's been raging in me for weeks is beginning to settle, replaced by a cold clarity. I've done what I needed to do. Brian is out of my life, Sarah is broken, and the pieces of my shattered world are starting to fit back together, but not in the way they once did. It's late, almost midnight, and I know Sarah is inside, probably lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering what's going to happen next. She has no idea that I've already taken care of the biggest threat. Brian Matthews is gone, out of the picture for good. I made sure of that. But now there's still one final move to make, the divorce. I finally get out of the car and walk to the front door. The house is eerily quiet when I step inside, and I'm reminded of all the times I've come home late from work, tired and stressed, only to find Sarah already asleep or pretending to be. But tonight is different. Tonight, everything changes. I head straight to the bedroom, where I find her sitting up in bed, her knees pulled to her chest, arms wrapped around them. She looks up as I enter, her face pale and drawn, eyes red from crying. She looks like she's aged 10 years in the last few days, and for a moment, I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. "Richard," she whispers, her voice shaky. "Where have you been?" I don't answer right away. I take a moment to study her, to see the woman who used to be my wife, the woman who betrayed me, who let another man touch her, love her. It's hard to reconcile the Sarah I loved with the Sarah sitting before me now, but I know I have to. This is the same woman, just seen through a different lens. "I've been taking care of things," I finally say, my voice cold, distant. She flinches at my tone, but she doesn't look away. "What kind of things?" "Brian," I say simply, watching her reaction. "He's gone." Her eyes widen, and for a moment, I see a flicker of fear, maybe even relief. "What do you mean, gone?" "I made sure he's out of our lives for good. He won't be bothering us anymore." She stares at me, trying to process what I've just said. I can see the questions forming in her mind, the confusion, the fear of the unknown. "Richard, what did you do?" "I did what had to be done," I say, my voice firm. "He's gone, Sarah. He's not going to come between us again." Her mouth opens, then closes, and she looks away, her hands trembling slightly. "So what happens now?" I take a deep breath, bracing myself for what I have to say next. "We're getting a divorce." The words hang in the air between us, heavy and final. She doesn't react at first, as if she hasn't fully processed what I've just said. Then slowly, she looks up at me, tears filling her eyes. "No," she whispers, shaking her head. "Richard, please. We can work this out. We can fix this." "There's nothing left to fix, Sarah," I say, my voice hard. "You destroyed our marriage the moment you decided to cheat. This is the only way forward." She starts to cry, tears streaming down her face, her shoulders shaking. "I'm so sorry, Richard. I didn't mean to hurt you. I love you. You don't know what love is," I say, my voice bitter. "You've been lying to me for months, sleeping with another man, while I've been breaking my back to give you everything you ever wanted. You threw it all away for what? A fling?" "It wasn't just a fling," she says, her voice barely audible. "I was lonely, Richard. You were never there. You were always working, always too busy for me. I felt like I didn't exist. So you decided to destroy our lives? You decided to let some other man touch you, to betray everything we built together?" I shake my head, the anger bubbling up again. "You don't get to play the victim here, Sarah. You made your choices, and now you have to live with them." She sobs, her whole body shaking. But I can't bring myself to feel anything for her. The love I once had for her is gone, replaced by this cold, empty space inside me. I fought for so long, trying to save something that was already dead, And now, I'm just tired. We'll go through the divorce quietly, I say, my voice calm. I don't want to drag this out any longer than it has to. We'll split everything fairly, and then we'll move on. She looks up at me, her eyes pleading. Richard, please don't do this. We can get through this. I can change. I can be better. Just give me another chance. I shake my head. It's too late for that, Sarah. You had your chance and you blew it. This is the only way forward. She collapses into tears again, but I turn away, unable to watch her anymore. I walk out of the bedroom, out of the house, leaving her there with her broken promises and shattered dreams. It's over, and there's no going back. The next few weeks are a blur of legal documents, meetings with lawyers, and dividing up our lives. I move into a small apartment downtown, just until the divorce is finalized, and I can figure out my next steps. The process is painful, exhausting, but necessary. I have to rebuild my life from the ground up, and I can't do that with Sarah still in the picture. I throw myself into work, bearing my pain and anger under long hours at the office, trying to forget the life I once had. It's not easy, but it's better than dwelling on the past. I have to keep moving forward, even if it means leaving everything behind. But even as I try to move on, the scars remain. I've won the battle, but the victory feels hollow. Sarah's gone, but so is the man I used to be. I'm different now, harder, colder, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to go back to who I was before. The divorce is finalized in record time, and just like that, it's over. My marriage, my old life, all of it is gone. I stand outside the courthouse, the final papers in my hand, and I feel nothing. No relief, no sadness, just emptiness. I walk back to my apartment, the city bustling around me, life moving on as if nothing has changed. But everything has changed, and I'm not sure where to go from here. Over the next few months, I start to rebuild my life. I focus on work, on my friends, trying to create something new from the ashes of what I've lost. It's not easy, and there are days when the pain feels overwhelming, but I push through it. I have to. I start going to the gym, trying to regain some control over my life, over my body. The physical exertion helps, burning off some of the anger and frustration that still simmers inside me. I push myself harder, running longer, lifting heavier, as if I can sweat out the poison that's been eating away at me. I also start seeing a therapist, someone to talk to help me process everything that's happened. It's strange at first, opening up to a stranger, but slowly it starts to help. I start to see things more clearly, to understand that what happened wasn't my fault. I did everything I could to save my marriage, but it was never going to be enough. Sarah tries to reach out a few times, sending texts, leaving voicemails, but I ignore them. There's nothing left to say, nothing that could ever change what happened. She's just a ghost now, a reminder of a life that no longer exists. Eventually the messages stop, and I know she's moved on, just as I'm trying to. I hear through mutual friends that she's moved out of the city, trying to start fresh somewhere new. I wish her well, but from a distance. Our lives are separate now, and that's the way it needs to be. As the months go by, the pain starts to fade, slowly replaced by something resembling hope. I start to think about the future, about what I want from life now that everything has changed. It's not easy, and there are still days when the weight of it all feels too much, but I keep pushing forward. I meet new people, start dating again, though nothing serious. I'm not ready for another relationship, not yet. But I'm open to the possibility, to the idea that maybe one day I'll find someone who can help me heal, who can fill the void that Sarah left behind. But for now, I'm focused on myself, on rebuilding my life from the ground up. It's a slow process, but each day I feel a little stronger, a little more like the man I used to be. One evening, as I sit in my apartment watching the city lights flicker outside my window, I realize that I'm going to be okay. I've been through hell, but I've come out the other side scarred but not broken. I'm still here, still standing, and that has to count for something. I pour myself a drink, a small celebration of the fact that I've survived, that I'm still moving forward. I raise the glass to the future, to whatever comes next, knowing that I'll be ready for it, no matter what. As I take a sip, I feel the tension in my shoulders start to ease, the weight of the past finally beginning to lift. I'm not the same man I was before all this, but maybe that's okay. Maybe this is my chance to start fresh, to build a life that's stronger, better than the one I lost. I set the glass down, a small smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. The future is uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, that doesn't scare me. I'm ready to face whatever comes next, to take control of my life and my destiny. And as I sit there watching the city come alive outside my window, I know that I'm going to be okay. The worst is behind me, and now it's time to look ahead, to build something new, something that's mine, and mine alone. I sit across from Sarah in the sterile conference room, the silence between us thick and suffocating. The divorce papers are on the table, the ink barely dry. We've signed our names, split our assets, and yet there's still something that needs to be said. I can feel it in the way she avoids my gaze, in the tension in her shoulders. This is the final confrontation, the reckoning we both knew was coming. She finally looks up at me, her eyes tired, her face drawn. "Richard, I never wanted it to end like this." I don't respond right away. I let her words hang in the air, let her feel the weight of them. What can I say that hasn't already been said? We've gone over this 100 times in heated arguments, in cold silences. But now, with everything laid bare, it feels different. Final. "You didn't think it would end at all," I finally say, my voice flat. "You thought you could have it all. Me, him, the lies, the deception. You thought you could keep it up forever." She flinches, and I see a flicker of the guilt that's been gnawing at her. "I didn't mean for it to go so far. I was confused, lost." "Don't," I cut her off, my voice sharper than I intended. "Don't try to justify it. You made your choices, and now we're here." She swallows hard, tears welling up in her eyes, but I don't feel the sympathy I once might have. I'm beyond that now. Too much has happened. Too many lines have been crossed. I've seen the ugly truth of who she is, who I was with her, and there's no going back. "I know I hurt you," she whispers, her voice trembling. "I know I destroyed everything we had, but I never stopped loving you." I laugh, a bitter sound that echoes in the small room. "Love, is that what you call it?" "You didn't love me, Sarah. You loved the idea of me, the stability I gave you, the life we built. But love? No. Love doesn't do what you did." She lowers her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I did love you, Richard. I still do. But I lost myself along the way. I got caught up in something I couldn't control." "Couldn't control?" I lean forward, the anger I've kept in check bubbling to the surface. "You had control, Sarah. Every step of the way you had a choice, and every time you chose him. You chose to lie, to cheat, to betray everything we had. Don't try to play the victim now." Her shoulders shake with silent sobs, but I remain unmoved. I've shed my own tears over this, spent countless nights tortured by what she did, and I'm done with it. This is the end of the line, and I'm ready to move on, with or without her understanding. After a long silence, she wipes her eyes and looks at me with a resolve I haven't seen in her for a long time. "You're right," she says softly. "I did have a choice, and I made the wrong one, over and over again. I destroyed us, and I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life." I nod, feeling a strange sense of closure in her admission. "Yes, you will, and so will I." We sit there for a moment, the weight of our broken marriage settling between us. There's nothing more to say, no more accusations to hurl, no more defenses to make. We're done. The papers on the table are the final nail in the coffin of our life together, and now it's time to bury the past and walk away. "I'll always be sorry, Richard," she says, her voice small, fragile. "For everything." I stand up, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. Sorry doesn't change what happened. It doesn't fix anything. She nods, accepting my words without argument. I know. I turn to leave, but something in her posture, the way she's crumpled in her seat, makes me pause. Despite everything, despite the pain and the betrayal, there's a part of me that wishes things had been different, that we could have found a way to save what we had. But that's not our reality. We destroyed each other, and now we have to live with the wreckage. Take care of yourself, Sarah, I say quietly, not looking back. You too, she whispers. I walk out of the room, the door clicking shut behind me, and with it, the final chapter of our marriage closes. I feel a strange mixture of relief and sadness as I leave the building. The cool air outside a stark contrast to the suffocating atmosphere inside. It's over. It's really over. The next few days pass in a blur as I try to adjust to my new life. The divorce, though necessary, has left me hollowed out, a shell of the man I used to be. I spend my time working, trying to find some sense of normalcy in the routine, but it's a struggle. Everywhere I go, I'm reminded of what I've lost, of the life I used to have. I talk to my therapist about it, trying to make sense of the conflicting emotions. The anger, the sadness, the relief. It's all a tangled mess in my head, and I don't know how to sort through it. She listens patiently, offering insights, but in the end, I know it's something I have to work through on my own. There's no quick fix for this kind of pain. But as the days turn into weeks, I start to feel a shift. The weight on my chest begins to lighten. The constant ache in my gut starts to fade. I'm not over it, not by a long shot, but I'm beginning to accept it. To accept that my life is different now, that I'm different, and that's okay. I start making changes, small at first, but meaningful. I redecorate my apartment, getting rid of anything that reminds me of Sarah, of our old life together. I focus on my health, both physical and mental, making sure I'm taking care of myself in a way I haven't in years. I reconnect with old friends, people I lost touch with during the chaos of my marriage, and I find comfort in their company, in the simple act of being around people who care about me. One night, as I'm sitting on my balcony, looking out over the city, I realize that I'm finally ready to move on. The anger, the bitterness, they're still there, but they don't control me anymore. I can see a future for myself, one that doesn't revolve around Sarah or the pain she caused. It's a future that belongs to me, and me alone. I don't know what that future looks like yet, but for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to find out. I'm ready to let go of the past, to close that chapter of my life and start writing a new one. It won't be easy, and I know there will be days when the pain comes rushing back, but I'm stronger now. I've been through the worst, and I've survived. A few weeks later, Sarah reaches out one last time, asking to meet for coffee. I'm hesitant at first, unsure if I'm ready to face her again, but something tells me that this is the final step I need to take to fully let go. I agree, and we meet at a small cafe downtown, neutral territory where we can talk without the ghosts of our past haunting us. When I see her, I'm struck by how different she looks. She's lost weight, her clothes hanging loosely on her frame, and there's a tiredness in her eyes that wasn't there before. But there's also something else: acceptance. She's come to terms with what happened, just as I have, and in that, there's a strange sense of peace. We talk for a while, about nothing in particular, avoiding the topic of our marriage, our divorce. It's as if we're two old friends catching up after years apart, and in a way, that's what we are. There's no anger between us anymore, no bitterness, just a mutual understanding that what's done is done, and it's time to move on. As we finish our coffee, Sarah looks at me with a small, sad smile. I hope you find happiness, Richard. You deserve it. I nod, returning her smile. You too, Sarah. We part ways after that. No lingering goodbyes, no promises to stay in touch. It's a clean break, the final severing of ties that have bound us together for so long. As I walk away, I feel lighter, freer than I have in months. I've let go of the past, and now I'm ready to embrace whatever comes next. That night, I sit on my balcony again, a glass of whiskey in my hand, and I think about the future. It's wide open, full of possibilities, and for the first time in a long time, I'm excited about it. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I'll be okay. I'm ready to start over, to build a new life for myself, one that's not defined by the mistakes of the past. As I take a sip of my drink, I look out at the city lights, and I feel a sense of peace. The storm has passed, and now it's time to rebuild. And this time, I'm doing it on my own terms, with no one to hold me back. I sit in my car, hands resting on the steering wheel, staring at the driveway of the house that used to be mine. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the lawn, and I feel a sense of finality that's both comforting and terrifying. This is the last time I'll be here, the last time I'll look at this place and feel anything. I've come full circle, from love to betrayal, from anger to resolution, and now it's time to close this chapter of my life for good. As I sit there, memories flood back. Good ones, painful ones. I remember the first time Sarah and I saw this house. How excited we were to build a life together. It was supposed to be our forever home, the place where we'd raise our kids, grow old together. But life has a way of shattering those dreams, leaving nothing but rubble in their wake. The house is just a shell now, an empty reminder of what once was. I take a deep breath and start the engine, but I don't drive away immediately. I let the car idle, thinking about everything that's happened, everything I've lost and gained. It's been a long, hard road, but I'm finally at the end of it, and I know that there's no turning back. I'm different now, stronger, wiser, more cautious. The scars are still there, but they don't define me anymore. They're just part of my story. I think about Sarah, about the last time we spoke, and the look in her eyes when she realized it was really over. There was sadness, regret, but also a sense of acceptance. We both knew that what we had couldn't be salvaged, that the damage was too deep, too permanent, and as much as it hurt, letting go was the only way forward, for both of us. As I pull out of the driveway, I feel a weight lifting off my shoulders, like I'm finally free from the chains that have been holding me back. The road ahead is open, uncertain, but full of possibilities. I don't know where I'm going yet, but that's okay. For the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid of the unknown. I'm ready to face it head on. Driving through the city, I think about what's next. I've spent so much time focused on the past, on the pain and the betrayal, that I haven't really thought about the future. But now it's all I can think about. What do I want? Where do I go from here? The possibilities are endless, and that's both exhilarating and terrifying. I think about the things I've learned, about myself, about love, about what it means to truly move on. I've been through hell, but I've come out the other side stronger, more self-aware. I know what I want now, what I deserve, and I won't settle for anything less. That's the gift this whole ordeal has given me, a clearer understanding of who I am and what I'm worth. As I merge onto the highway, I feel a sense of peace that I haven't felt in a long time. The city lights blur into streaks as I pick up speed, the wind rushing through the open windows. I'm not running away anymore. I'm moving forward toward something new, something better. In the rearview mirror, the past fades into the distance, and I realize that I'm ready for whatever comes next. I'm ready to build a new life, one that's not defined by the mistakes of the past, but by the lessons I've learned. I'm ready to find happiness again, on my own terms. I think about the possibility of love, of finding someone new, someone who understands the man I've become. It's a distant thought, one that doesn't carry the urgency it once did. I'm not in a rush. I'm content to take my time, to focus on myself, to heal fully before I let anyone else in. But when I'm ready, I know I'll be open to it. I won't let fear hold me back. The miles stretch out ahead of me, and with each one, I feel the past slipping further and further away. I'm not the same man I was when this all began, and that's a good thing. I've grown, evolved, and now I'm ready to start a new chapter, one that's filled with hope and possibility. As I drive into the night, I can't help but smile. I've been through the worst, and I've survived. Now it's time to live again, to embrace the future with open arms. Whatever happens next, I know I'm strong enough to handle it. I'm not afraid anymore. The road ahead is long, but it's mine to travel. And for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to see where it leads.